All right, we're live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to IBM Developer Online Meetup. This is our, believe it or not, sixth webinar with HERE Technologies in the IBM Developer Series. And where I am today, it happens to be a Tuesday. So, of course, we're going to talk about location. But as you can see there, the team has put together different topics on different days, which is really cool. So if you're interested in joining any one of these topics, you know which days you need to attend. My name is, again, Upkar. I'm a developer advocate at IBM and your host for today. Thank you for spending your time with us. As usual, we have Vedant and Mohammed from HERE Technologies. Hello, hello.
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 And for the second time in a row, I have the privilege of hosting our IBM amazing developer advocate, Asna. Hey, Asna.
Hi, everyone.
And together, they'll take us through part 2 of developing IoT application with HERE APIs and IBM Cloud Platform. If you remember, we had the webinar last week was also on IoT. And Mohammed, if you can please share the link somewhere in the chat, that would be wonderful if people want to take a look at that. Wonderful, thank you so much. As usual, we'll give you plenty of links, resources for you to go experiment on your own, as well as to read up on. So, stay tuned in the comment section. I'll also send out an email after. So if you're not taking notes, that's completely fine. This webinar is being recorded. You can come back and watch the replay on the same URL after the event ends. It takes a couple of minutes for the recording to be processed. And like I said, I'll also put the recording link in the email. Finally, if you want to be notified of future events with IBM Developer, if you like what you see, you want to follow us, there's a little follow icon on the top. If you see at the top of the screen, next to the IBM Developer logo, there's a follow icon. So make sure you click on that. For those of you who are new to IBM Developer, we are a team of developer advocates from across the world, and we do developer education events like this. Today, we are doing it with our amazing partners, but we also host a lot of events on our own. And it's for us, it's all about developer education. So again, thank you for attending today. Use the chat functionality to talk about relevant topics to this meetup. Also, if you have any questions, we have an Ask a Question button at the bottom of the screen. That makes sure we get to your questions and they don't get lost in the chat. I, as a moderator, I also keep an eye on the chat and convert your comments into questions if I think they are, if the speakers can answer them. And then finally, we have a very short survey at the bottom of the screen. So if you see the green/bluish button that says survey, you can click on that and let us know how we're doing and what we can improve in future events. Okay, so don't want to bore you anymore. I am going to hand it over to Mohammed, and we'll get started.
Thank you. So thank you very much, Upkar, for the introduction. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever the location is. I think we have a lot of people coming from different locations. So today we'll continue the discussion on location technology or location intelligence along with IBM technology. This is the second part. This is like the part 2 for the IoT workshop. More to come and on the next few days. We'll touch base on this. Let me introduce, put the face on the voice. So we have Asna Javad, the lead developer advocate in IBM. Hi, Asna. And we have Vedhan. He's the senior developer evangelist from HERE Technology, and myself. So today we will continue the discussion on the IoT, how to connect the IoT IBM Watson IoT platform with location-aware technology or with location-aware solution. In the last session, we went through how we can do the IoT integration between the Watson IoT platform, a big machine learning, a big platform that we need to connect and enable this with a location platform. The end result is how to connect these sensory data, this IoT data into an actual solution, something that we can help and digest from customer perspective. If you please, you have the link right now on the chat for the previous one. If you have, after this one, just go and revise the last session. We have a lot of talks there. and also the basic introduction for the IoT. Going for the hands-on, this is the majority of the session. We need your focus. So the majority of the today is hands-on. So make sure that you have the battery, the coffee, or the water, anything is ready. So it's a long time to go. Let me ask Asnak to give us some insights on what we are looking for today.
Thank you, Mohammed, for the introduction and letting everyone know that this is the part 2. So, guys, what we did last week was, before going to the last week, let me tell you that what we were developing, we were actually creating a system where a device would monitor a temperature of a person, and it would send the data to Watson IoT platform. And from there, we were supposed to integrate the HERE services with our application, so that if a person is in critical condition and the temperature is above the threshold, the application would send them the information about the nearest hospital that they can go to, along with the routing information, and also it would show the routing on the map. So what we did last week was what we actually created the Watson IoT platform on IBM Cloud. We got our location, latitude and longitude information from the HERE service platform. If you guys haven't signed up for that yet, Mohammed is going to share the link with you guys again, so you guys can do that. Sign up for HERE developer account as well as IBM Cloud account, and we took the information from there. We posted we connected Raspberry Pi with our Watson IoT platform, and what we did was we sent the data from the device to the Watson IoT platform. There we monitored the data that it is getting received. Apart from that, what we did was we created our map, and we took the location for, in our example, we took the location for Dubai, right, Vidhan? And what we did was that we showed the route for the nearest hospitals for the person. And today what we're going to do is, Mohammed, if you can move to the second slide. Yep. So what today we are doing is we are gonna show the threshold to check the temperature. We're gonna set the threshold. We're also gonna show how to, show the routing on the map, as well as we're gonna take that data and put it on Watson IoT, and we're gonna visualize that data, because visualization is very important, and it helps us in future, how if we want to take out important information or extract some important information from the data. And apart from that, what we're going to do is we're going to integrate an IoT dashboard that is with the Python code for subscribing data using MQTT, as well as we'll be showing the map and how it's going to work. So I'm gonna hand it over to Vidhan now, and Vidhan, you can start with the hands-on. Before that, Mohammed is gonna share the links with you guys, and he's gonna show them so that you can sign up and get ready for your coding journey.
Thank you, Asna. Hello, everyone. So I'm Vidhan. I'm Senior Developer Evangelist with HERE Technologies, and I'm based out of Bangalore, India. So I'm going to take you through the first part, a recap, you can say that, and few of the parts that was left, I'm going to cover that. And after that, we're going to move to the second part, where we are going to talk about what to do with the data on user interface or user application. So let me open the links. You might want to open the repositories, and one of the repositories that you would want to see is the first part that we shared in the previous workshop. Let me share this quickly in the chat.
Yeah, we have it already. We have it in the link.
Thank you. Okay, so what this code was doing, let me show it to you. This code was publishing particular data to IBM Cloud. And we were using a library called PAHO MQTT, which is the parent library of MQTT communication. And with the help of this, and with the help of some of the values that we acquired from here, from IBM Cloud, these are the values that we acquired from IBM Cloud, and we pasted it here, and we created few of the links so that we could communicate with the cloud, and that is IBM Cloud, and that too, Watson IoT service, or Watson IoT platform of IBM Cloud. And after that, we simply had the communication, and we initiated it over the port number 1883. That is the default port that we use for communication with in MQTT protocol. Apart from that, we have 8883. But it is not a secure communication. You can do that, but that would require an extra lines of code. So I avoided that. After that, what we did was we mimicked the data. We didn't connect any of the sensor. We simply had the data created on our desktop, right? And for that, we have a infinite loop where we are randomly generating temperature data between 96 and 101 Fahrenheit. And after that, what we did was we were sending simply latitude and longitude. But our intention now is to show you how to visualize that data. And for that, we have created a different structure for payload and where we are sending it in JSON, right? We're converting into a string basically. And where we are passing the key value pairs, temperature as temperature value, status as working, right? So this status is something that is going to help us out in visualization. That is what we're doing here. And after that, we are simply publishing it. That is what we're doing. So once it's published, at the same time, locally on, say, your device, that device could be your Raspberry Pi, we are simply checking if the temperature is beyond certain range. You can set it according to you. I've set it in different way. You can set it according to you, right? Or you can have it dynamically. It totally depends on you. And in doing so, we are simply calling, right now I have commented this, we are going to simply call the Flask code. So let's run this. Okay, so this while loop is running and this data is being sent. And I'm assuming that you all have created the account on Watson IoT. So you can see that the device is being connected and you can monitor what is happening there. That's a recent event. You can see the values are being sent. Now, all this code you can find on GitHub link. Now, how to do the visualization? Asna will be able to tell you more clearly on that. Handing over to Asna.
So for the audience, do you have the up to date with the code? So are you feeling comfortable with us? Any questions? All good? Please, if you have any question or query, we have the expert on the table. So you can ask, we can help you.
Meanwhile, Asna is getting prepared to share the screen. I'm going to keep on sharing mine.
Okay, so I think we should give them like a couple of minutes so that they can set up their HERE account as well as the IBM Cloud account. For those who are new, for those who are already here, they can, you know, sign in and get ready while Vidhan is sharing his screen. We're going to give you guys a couple of minutes. Do let us know in the chat when you are done and want us to move on with the hands-on part.
So we're going to set a time limit here. So let's have 2 minutes, right? We don't want to overstretch, right? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So your time starts now, guys. Let us know if you face any issue, and we'll be more than happy to help you out.
So if you sign up to the IBM Cloud, you have the freemium offering. The same for HERE developers. You have also the freemium offering. Nothing fancy, just basic information that you have. And then we have on the GitHub repo, and the part 1 is the initial part of the code. So please make sure it's there. And done the installations part, right, Vidhan? So we have Python and a few libraries that we need to be installed.
Okay, so you need to have Python installed, and Python 3 is what we are using, to be precise, Python 3.8, I think. And apart from that, you'll have to have, we are using Visual Studio. You can use any of the code editor, right? So that is completely up to you, but Visual Studio has features which are good, so that's why I'm using it. Apart from that, you need to have an account on IBM Cloud to create a service of Watson IoT. And apart from that, you need to have an account of HERE. That is, you have to go to developer.here.com. I'll show it to you. And you simply have to grab an API key, which is going to be your unique identification through which you will be able to access all the resources under freemium account.
Okay, cool.
So you can see that the infinite loop is working and we are simply sending the data. And once you are on this page, in your code, these two lines would be uncommented, and in your code, these lines would be commented. So you'll have to change that. Simply go to the GitHub library and go to data_publish.py file and copy and paste it and acquire your Watson IoT credentials and use it to complete this code. Asam, would you like to share your screen for visualization?
Yes, Vidhan. I'll start sharing my screen now. Okay.
So I'll stop. Okay.
All right. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right. So for all of those who have created their IBM Cloud account, in the last webinar, we showed how to create the service for Internet of Things platform. To know that, you guys can go and check that out. For those who already have this, what we do is we are going to launch this. And something went wrong with my desktop. Okay, here it is.
So it seems the internet connectivity is not helping you.
So can you guys see my screen now? Is it,
yes.
Okay, great. So here's the device that is connected, and as Vidhan showed, that the data is coming. You can check it here you can go to your devices, and the one that is connected, go to state, and here you can see that the data is coming in. Now what we want to do is we want to visualize this data. So for that, all you have to do is click on the boards here, and you can create a new board from this. You can name your board whatever you want to. I will call it as test 1. And then if you want, you can make it as your favorite board or leave it as blank like me. That's pretty much all you have to do. You can go to your board and then you go and add a new card. Now in our case, what we are doing is we are going to monitor the temperature. So I'm going to select a line chart. This was my device that was connected, so I'm going to select that. And you can do is you can add the new data set. The data set that did being coming in our Watson IoT platform is the one we're using. So I'm going to select the temperature as an event. And in the property, we are going to select as temperature rather than the status. Apart from that, what we're going to do is we're going to select the type as float, because our temperature has precisions numbers, so we're going to select float rather than just number. I'm going to set my precision to 4. You guys can go to 5, 6, depending upon where the way you want it to be. I'm going to set my minimum value as 30, just for the ease of it. And that's it. That's pretty much it. And I can select whatever I want here. I can name my chart as temperature for the time being, or temp, and that's it. You can change your timing here if you want to get the data as for 1 minute or maybe 10 seconds. You can see the data coming in. I can change it to 1 minute and see all the data coming in here right now. So this is how you can visualize your data. You can also, play around with your maximum, minimum values and, create something beautiful out of it. Apart from that, I'm going to show you how you can display your latitude and longitude. In my case, what I'm doing is I'm going to add it as, I can go with the generic or the values first. If I go with the generic one, I'm going to select my device. For example, I want to show all the values on the same card. So again, you just need to add the data, select the properties. This property value would be shown it comes in because Vidhan has added it in the code that Vidhan already showed you. So again, I'm just gonna select a number for this. You can select the unit if you want. If you don't want, you can leave it as it is. It's up to you. For better understanding, we can do that. I added this and I'm just having a
Nice.
simple text chart which says this is latitude. And what I can do is if I want to add more values here, I can do that as well. So I can just go next, and from here I can add another data set. So right now I had latitude, so I'm gonna add my longitude here. It's pretty simple. You can play around with it if you want. You can see with different charts, different ways of showing your data, visualizing it. So I can go with a larger one or a medium one. And this is what I have. I have latitude and longitude values right here, and my temperature is coming in right here. So any questions, or should I hand it over to Vidhan? Vidhan, I think I'll, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll hand it
So,
over to you.
so you might be thinking that why are we getting the constant value of latitude longitude? Because we are sending the constant value. Although what you should be doing is when you are developing your solution in IoT, you should be sharing or grabbing the value on your IoT device using a GPS module. Right? You can use any of the GPS modules. There are a lot of them available in the market. It totally depends on which one you want to work with. Now, let me show you how we are creating a map out of it. Right? What we are doing is we have a function that we are calling, and that function is take me to hospital, which is taking the latitude and longitude value, and this is being passed to a Flask application, and here we are simply rendering that application as map.html, and we are passing lat long value to it. Let me stop this and rerun this. So what is going to happen is once I have uncommented this, so if this particular, you can say that condition is matched, that then it is going to print new attention, and after that it is going to open a Flask application. Just a sec. I'm going to run this again.
So that will give us the visualization for
matched exactly
for the location on the map. Yeah.
So what we are doing here is, I'll explain you the code. Basically what we're doing is, this is our location. We are showing it as a marker, and we are showing nearby hospitals. And at the bottom, we are supposed to see a button, which I have hidden because of a certain purpose. I'm going to simply show it to you, and I'm going to show you how it is working. So if you see the library that you have downloaded, right? This is what the code would look like. So this is basically an HTML page with JavaScript, right? So majority of heavy lifting is done in JavaScript. So this HTML page, which is getting rendered using Flask application, it is doing what? It is basically showing a header as routing to hospital. That's your title. And then we are importing a bunch of JavaScript libraries. These are your mapping libraries, which are basically pointing toward the HERE API, different API that we have, the endpoints through which you're fetching the values related to map and location analytics. And after that, in the body, you have two, you can say that containers. One container is simply showing you the map, and second container is basically showing you a button, which you cannot see right now because we have hidden it, right? Okay, and next thing that you would want to do, scroll down, and you need to have an API key from here to make this map work. So what you need to do is you need to go to developer.here.com, and you simply have to sign up. Mohammed will share the link with you. And here you have to simply provide your details, first name, last name, your email ID, your password that you want. And you have to check if you're a bot or not, and the security or country region, if you want to mention it. And you can sign up for the freemium account where you don't have to provide your card details. You can actually access all the APIs and all the services, almost all the APIs and all the services without paying anything. And you get 250, 100,000 transactions per month. So once you get this, simply go to the sign login page and log in with your credentials. And after reaching there, you will see a page which will show you the project name. And in my case, I have edited the name. Your name will be different. And on a freemium account, you can only create one project. So mine is also a freemium account. And once you click on this, the next thing that you're going to see is a credential page. Now, this page is where all the matching happens, all the API key, all the your SDKs for mobile application or JavaScript API or your REST API key you can acquire from here. Simply under the JavaScript section, you have to click on Create API, and you can create two APIs. So I've created two, and you're going to use one of them. You can see, you can copy, and you'll have to simply paste it here. So this is what you have to do in the code, where it is mentioned that JS underscore API key. So you have to replace it with this value. After that, we are acquiring the latitude longitude from the Python code. That is what we are sending. And this latitude longitude is constant from the Python code, but although you should change it using your GPS sensor. And after that, there are a bunch of lines of code, which is, first line is basically you're calling a default layer, which is the parent layer, you can see that, on top of which your map comes and your different UI comes. And here we are passing the latitude longitude. And after that, we are simply rendering a map with the zoom level of 14, that is the height from which we are looking at the particular location. And where do you want it to center? Where you want the center of the map? And we want it centered at where we are passing the location, lat long. So that is what we're doing. And after that, if you see 3 lines of code, these lines of code are basically creating this view, this zoom in, zoom out, and you're changing of the layer. So you can change it into map into satellite if you want to. Okay, so I prefer using map view, right? Because our icons could get lost in the translation. Okay, could get lost in the plants. So this location is where I am right now, Bangalore in India. And after that, we have 2 instances that need to be created to call a routing and a search service. So that is something we are doing. And after that, we are simply creating an icon, that we want to show on our location, right? So the scenario is that you have an IoT device on your hand or in the body, or it's somewhere you are traveling, and it sees that you have a certain temperature rise or fall, or it sees that you have a BP high or low. We have not included the BP condition, but you can do that. And once it reaches a certain level, you want yourself or your loved ones or someone to reach to the hospital, right? So this code is going to, when this condition is met, that is too low or too high temperature, this code is going to open a Flask application, open a map, and this map is going to give you the hospital details and route where you are going to reach and how you're going to reach. Scroll down, again, we are simply adding the marker. Now make sure that the marker that the icon of the marker that you're using is being stored in a static folder, right? Okay, all the information you'll get in the GitHub link. And at the bottom, we are creating the parameters that we need to pass to get the places. I'll share the link at the end. And we're simply calling that. And after that, we are simply calling display function, right, where we are displaying the map. And after that, we are going to show the route also. Just give me a second here. Okay, so I'll try to explain the code as quickly as possible and as simply as possible. And for that, I might take 2 or 3 minutes, right? Okay, so that is what we are doing here, right? We are simply going to display the hospital, right? And this display hospital is a function which is a button basically, and this button is going to, when clicked, it's going to show you the hospitals. And here we are simply passing to all the data that we're getting from the API call, and we are simply passing on the hospital icon as a marker for that, right? So in the static folder, you'll also see one of the icon called hospital.png. Once you have added this marker, that is what we are able to see. After that, we are simply going to show the route to one of the hospital. So here we are fetching one of the hospital from the JSON values that we get, a bunch of JSON values, and we are going to show the route to it. So I'm going to enable the console also. In that, we'll be able to show. In the route, what we're doing is we want to reach to that hospital which is this one, which is from the response to that particular position. And for that, we are selecting few of the mode that we want to reach fastest, and we say are using our own car. And we want to consider the traffic condition also, and that is what we have enabled. And these are your start point, that is your position, and this is your end point, which is the position of the hospital, because you want to reach there, right? Okay, and then we are simply showing few of the information, like how do you want to represent it? I want to display it, and how do you want to see it as an image, and the language that you want it to print. And after that, we are simply calculating the route, right? And this route calculation is what is going to show you a lot of information with the callback. It is going to give you a lot of variables like route shape, and these are all geometric values which you can manipulate, you can use, and you can help in, say, drawing geofence also. You can do that too with the help of this. And simply you are, okay, let me show you this too. And you're simply drawing a line for that particular route, and at the last, you're simply maneuvering it to display the instructions. And that is what this complete code is doing, displaying the instructions, and that too with time mentioned in minutes and seconds. So let me restart this. Let me check if we have enabled the button here. Just give me here a second. Okay, I'm going to refresh this. Okay, so we don't have button here. I intended to show it, but now we are simply showing the route because we have, I had disabled the button. So this is the route from my location, XYZ location, to the destination. And this is the address, or this is the instruction, head south, go forward 100 meters, and so on and so forth. So what you can do here is basically you can get this as visual recognition, sorry, as speech to text or text to speech, my bad. Nice. So you can have an application who can read this text and give it you in a speech, right? And you can be guided to reach this particular hospital under emergency condition. So that's all about the first part. If you have any queries, you can drop it in the message. Now, let's come to the second part. Okay, so Mohammed will share the link of the second part. Yeah.
Yeah, so I shared the link as well, the documentations. For the text-to-speech, that's for the web, but we can develop a mobile application, right? We have the native mobile SDK if they need to use it as well.
You can use, see, you can create mobile application in Android, in iOS, or a hybrid one using Flutter. We have all the support in that.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me open the second code. Now, if you have not attended the first lecture, no worries. The second code is not at all related to it. In a way it is, but programmatically it's not. Right? So you can simply start over new. So what you need, again, I'll just repeat the prerequisites. You need to have Python installed, and you need to have API key of here. That's all. So what are we going to do here in 55 minutes is we are going to show or create a dashboard which shows you your readings that you might be getting from the server on a plot, right, on a graph, and that will be done using matplotlib. And apart from that, say you have, say, instead of patient, you have vehicles and you want to monitor it, right? So you can grab the location data and plot it real time on a map and see, you can see the position changing, right? That is what we are going to do. So first thing that you need to do here is it is called subscriber code, although we are generating the values here, right? Ideally, we should be fetching the values from the cloud, but here, for the sake of ease of programming, excuse me, we are simply auto-generating it. If you want to explore how to connect to IBM Cloud or what's on IoT, you can, I think Asna will be able to share the link with you in the chat. Okay, so what we're doing here is simply we have two libraries that we're using, random and time, random for generating random values and time for having a delay or sleep for 2 seconds, 5 seconds, just to have the while loop with particular time lapse. And apart from that, we have matplotlib because we want to plot these values, right? And then we are importing some of the classes of the code that we created where actually your plotting is happening, and it is using thread right? Because we want to plot this time temperature and humidity. Let's say that we are talking about weather, or you're talking about a machine condition. So in machines, you would want to monitor vibration, humidity, temperature, pressure, and a lot of things, right? So let's say that we are monitoring temperature and humidity, and that is what is being done with the help of these two classes, right? I'll show it to you. And then we simply are plotting it, and we are mentioning it as a title, as data from Watson IoT. That will be the title. You simply have to copy this code. There's nothing you need to change. All you need to do is you need to import a few of the things. Now, if you want to know what are the things that you need to import, all you need to do is you need to go here. I think it's it. Now, and you need to go to the requirements, and you have to get all these values. You have to install all these things. Let me drop it quickly. You have to do pip install and get all these things. That's it. Now, coming back to the code. After that, we are simply using a counter to show us how the values are going on. And then we have a while loop, infinite loop, which is generating temperature, humidity. And we are simply adding this temperature, humidity to our Flask underscore codes different classes. We have two classes which are making it work. And we are pausing it for 0.001 second. You can say that for making it work properly. And we are putting it to sleep for 5 seconds for the REs. Now, if you talk about the plot underscore data, so it's kind of a different code, right? And it contains a lot of complexities. But if you go through it, you'll understand that these are necessary evil and easy, not that difficult. All we are doing is we are creating two classes, data plot, which is basically going to plot your data on the X and Y axis of our matplotlib plot. And then we are adding the data, we are appending, and then we have real-time plot. Now this plot is basically generating your real-time data, and we are defining the color here. Plot 1 is red, and plot 2 or plot second is green. So these are the, you can say that, keywords that we use in matplotlib to show the colors. And there are a lot of, actually. Matplotlib is a huge library. And then we have one more function, which is plot, and this is actually plotting all those things. And then we have main, which is the entry point of this code, you can say that. And in this main is what the actual things are, you can see that, happening. So it is generating random data, and it is plotting it. And then we are simply defining which is the entry point. And as I told you, entry point is your main. This is how this code is working. Let's run this code and let's see what it shows you. Okay, so this is what we are generating here. And just give me a sec here. So you simply have to install matplotlib for this. So you simply have to run pip install matplotlib. That's it, right? Okay, so whatever I have shared in the chat, simply put pip space install and Flask or matplotlib or socket, and it will get installed in your Python as a library. And then you can run this code. So this is how you can see the real-time data, multiple values. You can have more than this 2 values, right? It depends on you. More the values you'll include, a bit of complexity will increase, but that is how it is, right? You would want to create something which shows a lot of values, or you might want to show it on different plots. You can also do that, okay? But for the ease of showing it to you, I've tried to incorporate it in a single screen. Now, ideally, the situation should be that I should be showing it to you on a web browser with one screen showing this, and at the bottom or the left or on the top, a map. But that would have been a bit complex to show. So what I did is I broke down this code into 2 parts. One is for plotting these values, and second, for plotting a map. Now, this completes your first part, plotting the values. Now, let's see what are the values if we are getting from our cloud, right, from the user interface, and you want to show it or see it on a map. That is what we're going to see. So let this run code running, and I'm going to stop other server if it is running. Yeah, we need to stop this. Just a sec, and we need to kill this. We don't need this, right? And I'm going to clear this. Let me know if you are able to see it or if you're facing trouble. And I'm going to kill this also because this is going to pop up again and again in front of you. For the Flask, so this is the main code that is working. And the reason I'm using Flask is because I'm going to show it, or we wanted to show it in Python. And to show a map in Python, the easiest way is to use Flask. Right? Flask is a microwave framework which works very good with Python, and it renders your HTML pages very nicely. Okay, so what we wanted to do, the intention of ours was to show the data updating real time. And in doing so, either I or we would have to use Ajax, and I'm not good with Ajax. I'm not that good with JavaScript. So I went with the other option, that was Socket. So we have used a bit of Socket programming, and it's not that difficult. It's quite easy. So you'll have to import the Socket, right? And again, it is mentioned in your this. You have to do pip install flask-socket IO. Right? They see that you are keeping the right things in uppercase. Okay. And simply run that code, and it's going to install the socket library. And after that, since we are going to use Flask, we are importing a bunch of things from Flask, right? Render template, URL for copy current request context, and all these things. And apart from that, we wanted to generate some random values. So we are doing that, and we are using a bit of thread and event. We are doing that too. And again, few of the libraries of random. So ideally, we should keep them together so that you don't get confused. So these are the libraries for generating random data. Sleep, for making a code sleep for a few seconds so that everything works perfectly. And after that, we are simply creating an instance of app, Flask app. And then what we do is we provide the configuration details. So it's up to you what values you want to provide. So I've kept it as quite open, secret, and true. It's up to you. And then we are simply starting the socket or Flask app into a socket IO app, right? So we're creating an instance of socket with a lot of values, right? Basically connecting socket programming with Flask. And then we are generating the thread. So we created the object and initialized the thread, and we have initialized the event also because we want to have the event. And then we are generating the random values or some random lat long. Again, this lat long value should be coming from the cloud, right? But to keep it simple, we are generating it here, right? Otherwise, the code was becoming bulky and complex. And then after you have acquired this lat long, you're simply passing it to, again, a while infinite loop, that is while true. And we are generating a random value, incrementing it, okay? And then we are emitting it or passing it on the socket, with the help of socket. We are passing this value on as a tag called new data. And what are the values we are passing on? The lat long, and to a particular namespace that is /test. And everything is happening in a loop of 5 seconds. Things are repeating in a loop of 5 seconds. That is what makes it work, right? Because I'll tell you why we have kept a little longer loop, right? When you'll see the real application or when we'll apply it, you'll understand that. Or I'll explain to you. And after that, we have simply created function, right? We are routing it, and we are rendering again a map, right? An HTML, that is index of HTML. I kept the name different. And then we are instantiating socket, and this is going to help us sending the data that we got under the tag new data to this particular namespace, and we are connecting to it. And then we are sending it with the help of thread, because we want it to run in the background. That data is generated and is being sent. So on your main thread, your application server is running, and on the background thread, your data is being sent, created in a while infinite loop, and sent continuously with the help of thread to your HTML code, okay? And then some of the code for making sure that thread is working, thread is alive or not, and some more code if thread gets disconnected, and then we are simply starting this application. So this is your Flask code with implementation of socket and thread. Socket, because if you want to send data to your Flask server, Flask is a server, right? If you want to send a data to you, if you want to get connected to it, you have to have a way of doing it. And these ways are, ideal ways are socket programming or Ajax, and have selected socket one, and thread, because we want to have two things working simultaneously. So your data generation and sending is being done in the background thread. Now, if you go to the index, now that is where we are again creating the map. Okay, so before running this, again, we are importing a bunch of libraries. That is what we are doing, right? And what these libraries are doing is, because again, these libraries are making you or letting you call all the APIs or all the classes or functions that are associated with here to create a map. And after that, we are simply creating a container, and inside that container, we are going to show our map. So here we are. We have again instanced. Now I'm going to explain this in a bit detail, right? So that you understand this. So this line of code that I have struck out is basically initializing the platform variable, and with the help of our API key. And this helps you in authentication and authorization to fetch all the services and all the APIs call to make it legit. We instantiate this API key with the help of platform variable. So once you have created this, now everything will work perfectly. Now all this documentation is available. Mohammed will be able to share the link with you if you are more interested into it, and I'll share a few other things too. Now here I have shown here as basic values. Now these are the values. You might say that, okay, these are the static values, but these are just values to initialize it, because later we are going to change it. And next line, we are simply, you can see that creating object of default layer. Default layer is, you can see that as a parent layer on top of which we create everything in a map. And then we are passing the lat long to your initial value, because we want something to have initially, right? Because once the map is being shown, then your data will come in and everything is going to change dynamically. So let's have it initially at some point, right? After that, we are simply creating an object of map. Okay, before doing this, guys, if you have any queries, you can ask me. I've been going on like anything. Any queries? Anything you want to ask? Anything you want to say? This is the right time.
I think, yeah, I think people are following up with you. So a lot of hands-on, a lot of code. I think we was trying to follow up with you. And anyway, we mentioned clearly that we have the recording. So if someone need to have his own pace, you can come back again. If anyone need any questions, please give us like a note, flag, stop us, and ask your question to be answered.
Yeah, do ask me wherever you feel that you're not understanding it, because there's a lot of things we have included in this. Flask is there, socket is there, thread is there, a map is there, a lot of things are happening.
Quick one, the lat long default.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so the lat long default.
Constant? Sorry, Mohammed. Okay, you go ahead.
Lat long, okay, not decoder. I read your question. So this lat long, I have kept it constant initially to initialize it, right? But later on, we're going to change it. So you'll have to initialize it with something. Ideally, zero is a good value to initialize, but again, I don't want it to be initialized with 0. So you can use any value, right? It's going to be float, although, okay? And default is yes, it's going to be, again, it's basically an instance of our create default layer. And this instance is, once you call it, once you create it, on top of it, you create a map, right? Or you call a map, which you can see here in this section, okay? So what is happening in this section is, again, we are creating another object of another, you can see that class, which is map. So we have the default layer. On top of it, we are going to create a map. And here, where do you want to see this map? You want to see this map in a container, right? And that container is what we have defined at the top, right? Under this div section. So this is where we want to show our map, and we want to occupy the complete screen, right? Okay. And then what you want to do, I want to show a map of normal day, right? You can change it into satellite here. Instead of normal, you can write satellite. Instead of a lot of things, you can change it here. But let's keep it like this, because I want to have a controller on a map where I can change it dynamically. So I'm going to keep it as normal, default. You can change it into satellite, so that if you want to show initial view as satellite view, it's up to you. So see here, default layer has been called here. And after that, there are two things that you want to do. One, how much zoomed you want your view to be, or how much away from the ground you want your camera to be looking at that particular location. So it can vary from 0 or 1 to 20. I think 20, you can try it out. And then at what point you want it to be centered. Initially, we have centered it let long static, right? Initialize one, but we're going to change this. Okay, decoder. So guys, if you have any queries, you can disturb me in between and I'll be more than happy to answer. Now, next 3 lines of code is what is basically creating your UI. When I say UI, then I'm talking about the zoom in, zoom out button and the button where we are changing the layer, the one that you saw in the example 1. We're going to see that again. So these 3 lines are doing that magic. So this is basically helping you in dragging, right? You can drag the map, right, with the help of this actually. And your, your controls, zoom in, zoom out is being, default is being handled by this. And after that, simply we want to show the icon at your centralized location, right? At the lat long that you're passing. So we have kept home.png image in static folder. So always keep this in mind, guys, when you're working with Flask, when you're working with renting a template HTML, you want to keep your images in static folder and you want to keep your HTML code in template folder. So you can see the structure. So this is the static folder. And I've kept these 2 images, although we'll need only 1, no worries. And if you want these images are on the GitHub link. You can download it from there. So if you fork out the project or if you download it, you'll get these images. And you can see that our HTML code is in the templates folder. So this is the default structure that Flask and prefers, right? Okay. Now, coming back to this. So we have created an instance of icon where we are defining where our image is so that it gets assigned to the icon. And once we get the icon, we want this icon to be assigned as a marker, right? You see marker as bubbles, right? Okay, a curious bubble you see, or a bulb, how you want to define it. And this marker we can change, and it's quite easy. You only need to have 2 or 3 lines. 1 line to assign the image, 2nd line assign that icon to your marker object with the help of marker class, h.map.marker, and then adding it to the actual map object that we created, right? So everything is going to be on the map. So everything we are adding, we are doing it on map. This part is what is doing all the task, right? So let me do one thing. Let me see if I can, although this is going to show an error, right? But if you remove all the things, you'll be able to see it. Okay, let me show it to you. Let me try that. I'm going to this, and instead of running it using Flask, I'm going to simply open this map. So this is the map, and I'm going to open this. Let's see, what do you see? Okay, it's going to take a lot of values, so this is not going to show like this. We'll have to go through that route only. Okay, so now this is where your socket programming is working. Now, if you're thinking that, okay, now where are we going to change the lat long value? Now your socket programming in Flask is going to send data here, or we're going to call that data here. So if you want to send data from server, which is Flask server, to your client, this is a client in a way, right? You have to do like this. Okay, so we are connecting to the socket server. This is how we connect, and this was a namespace. And we have received a value. We have saved it in somewhere in a variable, in an array, and then we got this new data, and we are getting this. We are logging it, and we are sending the map into center. Now this data, new data, is a key whose value is basically. Let me show it to you. This is the value which we were emitting, right? If you remember. So this is what we are fetching, key value, to this particular namespace in our HTML. So this is the key, and this is going to get the value, and this value is your message, which we have fetched. And we are passing it as an object to map.setCenter. So now your map is going to get centered to this location. And then lastly, we are going to create a marker and set it as geometry so that we are able to see the marker. Let's run this code. Okay. Okay, so this is your marker, and you'll see that this is going to change position in every few seconds, right? So that is something that required us to use thread and socket programming to show you on a map changing position. Now, there are a lot of things that you can do here, to be honest. Okay, let me show you how the data is looking like. So this is the data that we are sending basically, and every time, see, we are plotting it on a console. So these are the locations that your map is moving to. Now, this piece of code is quite useful if you look at it from my perspective, that you are able to show a dynamic change in location with the help of socket and thread, right, in Python. So that's quite a useful piece of code, right? Okay, so this is what we are doing here, and we have one more link to show you. If you go to flask_code.py, let me take you to one of the part. I think this is what we have, the data that is going in. Now, you can do a lot of things here. Okay, let me run this too, so that we have both the things simultaneously. And I'll refresh this. And your matplotlib is going to pop up anyways. You cannot avoid that. Ideally, right, so these are the values that should be coming from the server, but we are randomly generating it, and all these values are being shown on your screen. Now, this should be in one page, right? But because to reduce the complexities of the coding, we have kept it like this. So now you can see that. Imagine that all this data is coming simultaneously, right? And you are able to plot it on your screen. Now, this is how we basically create an IoT dashboard. So it's quite crude and raw, but with a bit of coding magic, you can stitch it all together and you can make it work. Now, what would you want to do? Yeah, please.
Yeah, so if, for example, if you mentioned that we have like multiple screen as tracking, yeah, so then one you can show the map, one you can show the data coming from Watson, or any sensory data as well. It looks really amazing and very informative as well.
Exactly. So instead of having only one showing all the things, you can have multiple of such on a single web page, on a single dashboard. And you can have map with, see, we are showing only one data. You can have data from, say, hundreds of devices coming from your cloud, or thousands of devices, and all of them will have a different marker. And all of them, when they move, instead of we showing it randomly or appearing magically at some point, they will form a kind of a line, a route. The route that we draw in the previous example is something that we can draw with this. Okay, and that way you'll able to track all your asset, all your resources.
Mm-hmm.
Apart from this, what more you can do? One of the things that you can do apart from this, okay, I'll have to kill this, right? Because this is going to pop up again and again. What else you can do is you can do a lot of things here actually. You can do fleet telematics. So when we talk about IoT, when you talk about asset tracking or asset management, or in general sense also when we talk about IoT, Internet of Things, then we are talking about tracking the asset, monitoring the asset, and location plays a huge role there. You cannot imagine IoT application nowadays or today without the location element. Even if you look at your smartphone, even if you look at your application that you have in your smartphone, almost all the application is dependent on location. So location is the fuel that is driving IoT in today's world. Let me show you one of the slide for this. Or before that, let me tell you how you can integrate these things. So I'm not going to show you the code, right? I'm simply going to explain you. So let's say that you have a fleet of commercial vehicles that you want to create a dashboard for, and you want to monitor everything on that. So if you go by a basic way, right, then it's going to take you a lot of time because you have to do a lot of data analytics if you go raw there, right? So instead of this, what we prefer as a developer is to go with the data analytics capabilities that HERE offers. And instead of you wasting your time on performing all the data analytics and optimizing code, and that might not work, or that might not be highly optimized, and that could break your code, what we do is we use HERE APIs, HERE data analytics services. For example, you have a fleet of such vehicles, you can monitor them, right? You can create a geofence, that is, you can get an alert whenever a particular asset of yours is going out of that particular region. You can define custom locations, right? Let's say that you have a set of vehicles and these are your delivery trucks, and you know that their locations, or they are going to go to a certain warehouse only. So you can make them move on a particular route. You can define that route. You can define the custom locations. You can, instead of having the landmarks, you can create icons like we created right now for different warehouses that those trucks are meant to go. Apart from that, another thing that is very interesting when we talk about trucks, especially in almost all the countries, in almost all the major cities, is that the heavy vehicles are not allowed inside the city for, say, a particular time period, or they cannot move around freely there. Why? Because you might have a low-hanging bridges where your truck or your vehicle might bang and could destroy your goods inside it, or it could get punished by the law, right? That the commercial vehicles is traveling in the city. So apart from that, there could be toll, right? So all these consideration, all these things are considered when we talk about fleet telematics, when we talk about these APIs. So if you're planning to create something, then you can include these things to work on your commercial vehicle. Now, let me explain a bit about the IoT, since we have time left, right? Or if you're very curious, you can ask me, or else I can jump back to the IoT and I can explain a few of the parts there. Any queries, guys?
Seems clear and quiet so far.
Okay.
So I'm sharing the track routing as well. It's one of the really good product that you need to know. So I'll put that on the chat.
Just a sec. I think I have it. Yeah. So this is one of the you can say that complete scenario of IoT, right? So when we talk about IoT, we are talking about a lot of things, right? We are talking about data, right? We are talking about data being communicated in an intelligent way. And when I say data being communicated in an intelligent way, that means that now data has far more value, and the devices who are sending this data has intelligence to what data to be sent, where this data to be sent, and in what format. Now, if you see that when the data is traveling in IoT, you, instead of using HTTP protocol, you are talking about MQTT protocol, you're talking about CoAP, you're talking about XMPP, right? There are a lot of bunch of protocols, but the one that is above all, is standing above all, is MQTT, that you might have heard a lot, and that is what we use in this. And it is one of the lightest protocol that we have, and the data, you can say that print or the data structure size is very small. Apart from that, it can be secured. Apart from that, it is highly suitable for your IoT devices which are operating on battery. So if you have an IoT device which is operating on battery, you wouldn't want it to communicate using HTTP, because HTTP consumes a lot of battery, and it has client-server architecture which requires you to again and again ping to the server, and that consumes a lot of battery. So for those scenarios, we prefer MQTT. HTTP is preferred when we have a ton of bandwidth, we have a good power supply, right? Like manufacturing sector, where we don't have any issue with the power supply, or home scenarios where we have constant power supply. In those scenarios, we prefer HTTP. So you'll see in industrial IoT, usage of HTTP is a lot there. And when we talk about, say, your asset tracking, when you talk about, say, your vehicle tracking, when you talk about, say, you have some wildlife tracking kind of thing you're doing, or human tracking, you won't prefer HTTP, because this is going to consume a lot of battery. Although we have devices which use Bluetooth, but that communicate with your mobile, and mobile has a lot of battery which communicate using HTTP. But for those scenarios, either you go with MQTT protocol or you go with LPWAN, that is low power wide area network, that is your LoRa and Sigfox, right? Long range LoRa which works on your ultra bandwidth, right? Okay, which is based on your chirp spectrum. So that is another thing. Now, when we talk about IoT devices, then if you want to create an IoT device, what would you want to do is you would want to have 3 capabilities embedded in your IoT device. One, a computer, which is the brain of your IoT device. And IoT device is basically, if I give you an analogy, it's like human body, right? We have sensors, IoT device has sensors. Sensors collect the data, like temperature. Skin, which is sensory organ, collects that temperature data. It gets computed in your brain. Similarly, in IoT device, it gets computed in its processor. And then if we are feeling hot, we scream. I scream when I feel hot. Similarly, your IoT device will scream using communication module and send the data to the cloud. I'll call for my mom. Okay, so that is what your IoT device does, and that too in quite effective way. And this data is being sent from billions of devices, is being sent to the cloud. And on the cloud, you have to have a server which is capable of handling this data. For example, IBM Cloud, right, which is able to handle this. And if you talk about, say, MQTT, right, or HTTP, your server should support it. So Watson IoT support MQTT. It acts as an MQTT broker. Here you can perform all sort of stuff, like data analytics, right? You can perform. So basically, cloud is a supercomputer, right? It collects data, it stores data, it aggregates data, it performs data analytics, it performs machine learning. Anything and everything you can think about what you can do on data is performed in the cloud. And once you have done that, once you have got or converted data into information, into knowledge, into insight, you want to feed that business insight, if it is related to your particular business, into a mobile phone of a manager or your CEO, or your director, or your normal user, so that they can monitor it, what is happening on the thousands of, say, it's a factory which is sending, has thousands of machines, which has thousands of IoT devices, sending the parameters, the health. Your cloud is going to monitor the health, is going to predict the health, or say wear and tear. And your floor manager or your CEO of the company would want to see which machines need replacement when. So these are one of the scenario. And on the user end, which you can see on your right, is you can have it on mobile application, you can have it on your desktop. So that is what IoT is. So it's kind of a huge technology when you talk about the structure, you talk about the implementation, but it's quite interesting. Okay, any queries?
If you guys have
Okay,
any questions, please ask us. Yeah, I think we have done a great job.
I can see the query on the funding. I think Mohammed has handled that.
So if anyone has any questions, please let us know. If you guys have not signed up for the HERE developer account and the IBM Cloud account, you guys have the link. You can also go and watch the part 1 of this webinar series. As Mohammed shared there, it also tells you about the HERE technologies and the introduction. Apart from that, we have coming up new webinars as well. Vidhan, would you like to share those, or maybe Mohammed would like to tell about those upcoming webinars?
I can explain those. So if you talk about okay, I think Mohammed should take it. Mohammed, you want to take it? Okay, I think Mohammed has some network issue. Let me go on to that then.
I can share the screen.
Okay.
Let me share the screen.
Please stop it. This is the option. Yeah, got it.
So I thank you very much, Vidhan. I think it's very extensive session. I would assume it's a lot of code that everyone need to digest. I think we have one more question here. The flash socket IO interaction is cool. Thanks, Vidhan. Okay, awesome. More thanks.
It has to be. It took me some time to build.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So away from the IoT topic and the location, I think the flash connectivity with the socket and the Python, it's alone. It's an added value. It's alone, yeah. So this is alone is a value. If someone needs to educate himself about this, yeah, he can use the code example.
Basically, it will help you out in almost all the projects if you're working on Flask, Gabriel. Yeah. So if you are working on Flask, and Flask is just a server, right? And if you want to have client interact and send data from one place to another, you have to work with either socket or else you have to work with Ajax. And I prefer socket. That's it.
Yeah, cool. So what's next? I think part of the discovery that we have during the call, the question of the where. It is the location. Is it either asset? It is either a sensory, IoT, mobile phone, people, machines. It's always a big question where to find this type of information. I think with the help today with Vidhan and Asna, we mentioned how we can capitalize on this type of where data using IBM Watson IoT platform, capturing the information, do the post analysis with visualizations, even introduce a dashboard with maps, with graphs, with a lot of information that you can share between you and the team, your customer as well. So today we have the second part of the IoT workshop. I think it was very extensive coding experience. Honestly speaking, I will just have a quick second round just to make sure that I'm able to digest all the data that Vidhan is mentioning. Last week we had the session, and the last month also we have more sessions. So there is more too coming. We will explore the blockchain with IBM as well, how to connect the location intelligence, location data with blockchain technology from IBM. It's coming next Tuesday, so we'll keep the next Tuesdays, yeah, till the end, potentially till the end of the year somewhere. And please don't forget to see the other sessions. So we have a lot of sessions as we speak. It is literally an education course for the technology from IBM and HERE that you can enrich your data. So please, if you have any question, let us know. And don't forget the survey link. We really appreciate your feedback. Any comments, we literally listen, we read, and we act upon this. So here is our contacts. If you have any questions, please let us know, and we are over there next week.
Well, there's not much left to say. Mohammed did a really good job closing this out for me. Thank you, Mohammed.
Thank you.
So yes, please answer the survey. Let us know how we can improve in the future. And I'll be back with the team next Tuesday. See you all then. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Good day, everyone. Stay safe. Thank you.